Hello everyone, and this video is about the type 1 conditional, or the first conditional. This is the exercises, but before we go through the exercises, we're going to have a quick recap. So first, what makes a type 1 conditional? Well, you have the if clause and the main clause, remember? The if clause uses the if and the present tense, and your main clause uses the future tense. So remember, if you miss the bus is present tense, you will be late is future tense. And we're using it to talk about possible or probable conditions. So for the future tense, remember you use he, she, it, will, and then the verb. But for the present tense, you use he, she, it, and then you use a verb plus an s or an es if it's he, she, it, okay? Another recap, we can move on to the next slide. So also, you need to remember that if you're using the if clause first, we have to use a comma between the if clause and the main clause. But if you're reversing the order, so you're putting the main clause first, which is the future tense bit, you do not need to put a comma. So here we have some exercises. First, we have if Peter. Now remember, Peter is a he, she, it. So with Peter, we need to use oversleeps, okay? Present tense, oversleeps. He missed the bus, and we're using future tense, so it becomes what? Well, it becomes he will miss the bus. So yes, just to remember, if it's Peter, we have to use an s for the verb because it's he, she, it, okay? So next, we have if you leave metal out in the rain. Do we need to change anything? No, because it's if you, okay? So if you leave metal, so it stays as leave, okay? So if you leave metal out in the rain, it gets rusty. Now, we're using a type 1 conditional here, so with the type 0, you would say it gets rusty, but we are using a type 1, which becomes what? Well, it becomes it will get rusty. So yes, remember, very important, the will get for your type 1. Okay, next we have you get paid well if you do a good job. Well, we've reversed it here, so we have the main clause first, so it becomes what? Well, it becomes you will get paid well. So yeah, we've got you will get paid well, and then the present tense, so we have do a good job. It's present tense, so it stays the same, okay? Okay, well, next we have if a hiker, and then it's not / bring. So, what's your answer? Well, it should be if a hiker does not bring. And why is it does? Well, we need to add that because a hiker can be he, she, or it, okay? If he does not bring, if she does not bring, okay? If it does not bring, okay? Enough water, he, what? Very thirsty. So again, because we're using the future tense, it will, oh, what's your answer? Well, that's right, it's will feel very thirsty, okay? Because again, we're using the future tense. Okay, moving on to number 5. Your feet, what if your hiking shoes be too small? So, again, this is a reversed clause here, so we have to use the future tense first. So your feet, what's your answer? That's right, it's will ache, okay? Your feet will ache if your hiking shoes. Now remember, this is the verb to be, So we don't put if your shoes be too small. So it's is, am, are. What's your answer? That's right. The answer was are. So your feet will ache if your hiking shoes are too small. Okay, now moving on to the last one. We have if you study hard, you pass the exam. Now, remember, if you study hard, that's the if clause, so it's present tense. So what's your answer? That's right, it just stays as study. So, if you study hard, you pass the exam. Now, we're going to be using the future tense. So, what's your answer? That's correct. The answer is will pass the exam. Okay, so if you study hard, you will pass the exam. Okay, good job. Okay, thank you for watching, everybody. I recommend you to all look over these type 1 conditional videos and also to keep checking back on the type 0 conditional to refresh your memory. Thank you, everybody.